Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to another episode of Dear Ma'sooma with myself, Sana Araji, and our guest Ma'sooma Ja'far, who will be answering your deepest queries and concerns, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Thank you again for joining us for another episode during the holy month of Muharram. And inshallah we'll continue to answer some of our viewers' questions. And we have a question regarding Ziyarat Ashura. So let me just read you what the viewer has put.
Mm-hmm.
Could you please explain the origin of Ziyarat Ashura? I was having a conversation with a liberal Shia Muslim and they informed me that Ziyarat Ashura was not a reliable ziyarah and they even mentioned that parts were fabricated. Could you please verify and explain the origins of this ziyarah?
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Okay, so the earliest source that we have of Ziyarat Ashura is in Kamil al-Ziyarah, which is by Ibn Qulaway, and he has reported it from 5 different chain of narrations, all leading back to Imam Muhammad al-Baqir alayhi salam.
Okay.
And then we have Sheikh Tusi in his Misbah al-Mutahajjid, where he has got it from Kamil al-Ziyarah.
Okay. Now,
both of these are well-known scholars who, so we know that Ziyarat Ashura is very authentic from just because it's in their books. We also have, whenever you have a hadith related to, going back to an imam or an imam or a prophet of the Holy Prophet, they look at the chain of narrators who are in that chain and look at each person in that chain to see if they're reliable. So Sayyid al-Khuy has a book of Rijal, which is a book of the men, and he's looked at different people who are usually in these chain of narrators. And he actually says that the chain of narration that goes back to Imam Muhammad al-Baqir, he says all of them are very reliable except one. So as I said, Ibn Qulaway has given 5 different chains.
Okay.
So according to Sayyid Khuy, all of them except one is unreliable. All of them are reliable except one. Okay. So again, showing that if you've got 4 different chains which are considered reliable by someone who has looked at specific people in the chain and said, no, all of them are reliable, then really what is the problem?
Yeah.
The other thing is also to, when you look at it, so whenever you're looking at a hadith, you look at the chain of narrators, you look at the hadith content itself. So again, everything that is found in Ziyarat Ashura is found in other ziyarats, other du'as. So there's nothing there that is contrary to what is in the Holy Quran, contrary to what is generally accepted within Islam.
So there's no reason for someone to believe it to be fabricated because it's authentic through those different chains, like you have.
Exactly. And then you have also great scholars in all ages who have referred to Ziyarat Ashura and have themselves recited it and recommended the recitation of it. So, for example, you have Al-Tabatabai, who would recite it, who's the author of Al-Mizan, the great tafsir.
Yeah.
And he would recite it from the beginning of Muharram all the way to the end of Safar, every single day. So, scholars like that have not recited it only themselves, but they've actually recommended the recitation of it. And so many people have talked about the effects of Ziyarat Ashura, the miracles that have happened through the recitation of Ziyarat Ashura. And we've also got to realize that as Shias that we have had a lot of our libraries burnt, and in those days you only had the one manuscript which would be handwritten. So if the library was burnt, that manuscript was lost.
Yeah,
so we have a lot of things that are lost. So if you have scholars of the previous generations holding on to something dearly, then know that they had something in their hands which proved the authenticity of it, which we may not have in our hands now because it's lost through these fires and things. So with Ziyarat Ashura, we actually have it authenticated by great scholars. We have other scholars who recite it and show the authenticity of that they believe in it. We have, people who, like Sayyid Khuy, who's looked into the chain of narrations. We've looked at the contents of it. There really is no problem to it at all. There's nothing in there that, you know, you think, okay, this is fabricated. I know there was a time when there was a lot of debate happening about the lanat aspect, and even now I think there's a lot of Shias who find it difficult to do the lana. So they'll recite the Ziyarat al-Ashura and they'll say, well, the salam and the lana is an extra added part. That's not part of the ziyarat that was narrated by the Imam.
Okay.
And this is the bit that they have a problem with. So first of all, let's look at the whole concept of salam and lana. Okay, this is the concept of tawalla and tabarra, where you associate yourselves to the lovers of the Ahlul Bayt and you dissociate yourself from the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt. And this is a wajib aspect of Islam, according to the Shias. Okay, so if you look at Ziyarat Ashura again, it's not, you're not saying that I am with the people who are with I'm with you, Imam. It's saying I'm with the people who are with you, Imam. Yeah, so it's this concept of it's not just me being with you, Imam, but me being with the people who are with you. Okay, and then also then I have to make sure that I dissociate from the people who are against him. Because it's not enough, you know, people talk about the concept of we need to be a peaceful and a loving religion. Yes, agreed, but at the same time you need to know the negativities that are out there and you need to be able to fight those negativities. I'm not saying be the first one to start it, but be able to stand up against it. So we're told if someone is an oppressor, they will be held accountable and punished for being an oppressor. But if you are the one who's being oppressed, or if you are the one who's just standing by and letting the oppression happen and not doing anything about it, then you will also be held accountable and be punished for that as well. So it's important that we stand up against oppressors. And one of the first ways that we stand up in any aspect of our life, whether it's in a good way or a bad way, is to start with dua. So even when we want to do a good action, we ask Allah to give us the tawfiq to do that good action. We ask Allah to give us the opportunity to do that good action. So it starts off with a dua, and then the action happens. So the dua should always lead on to an action. So lana is not an insult. It's not bad words. It's not, you know, sort of swearing.
No.
Lana is actually a dua where you're asking Allah to keep His mercy away from those who were oppressors. And what you're doing is by starting off with that dua, then it follows on with an action where now you don't become an oppressor and ensure that you fight against oppression, any sort of oppression.
I think it's the definition of la'na that is misunderstood. I think people tend to think that it's kind of, like you said, a curse or a swear word, but it's withdrawing mercy upon the, you know, from the oppressors, which I think is in the Quran. There are also some words where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also has written that in the, not written that, it's been mentioned in the Quran.
Yeah, for example, in Surah Masad, Surah Lahab, where Allah says that curse be on the hands of Abu Lahab and Abu Lahab himself. So he's actually showing that he's cursing, or you know, and this concept of curse is again withdrawing His mercy.
Exactly, and so it's being used in the Holy Quran, which we read, which is
the Sunnah of Allah. And again, so if it's the Sunnah of Allah and Sunnah of the Holy Prophet, then why wouldn't it be our sunnah as well? Why would we not do it as well?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's again recognizing that it's a dua that I need to then follow it through with action.
Yeah.
And if I am again, when I am asking Allah to keep His mercy away from certain people because of certain actions that they're doing, then I need to reflect on my own self and think, are those actions in me? And if so, then that lana comes back to me myself. So then I'm actually praying for Allah to keep His mercy away from me as well, because I have those same actions that I am doing lana on those specific people for. So that's really important to recognize, one.
Exactly,
Secondly, it's a huge dua. To actually ask Allah to keep His mercy away from someone is a huge deal. Especially as Muslims, because we're supposed to, you know, once someone comes into the fold of Islam, he becomes my brother or sister in faith. And therefore I must want what I want for myself, I want for him. So how can I actually ask Allah to keep His mercy away from another Muslim or another human being? It just seems like such a huge thing to ask. And this is why we're told that you shouldn't just do the dua of lana on anyone. It should be on specific people which have been told to us by Masum, because they have ilm al-ghaib, they have the knowledge of the unseen. They know whether these people will ever ask for forgiveness, if they'll ever turn towards Allah.
Yeah.
Because if they will, then I have no right to ask for Allah to keep His mercy away from them.
Yeah, and that goes to the next question I was going to ask you. What are the benefits of Ziyarat Ashura?
Yeah. So if we understand that, first of all, it's a dua, then I understand that I need to think about, is that dua coming back to me?
Okay.
So I need to reflect on the actions that I'm doing. So what actions am I actually doing the lana for? And it's usually oppression.
Okay.
So if I am oppressing my family, whether as a woman I'm oppressing my husband by not giving him his rights, or as a mother I'm oppressing my children by being harsh on them or taking my anger out on them when they don't deserve it and things like that. As a man, if I'm oppressing my wife by not giving her her rights, or using Islam in order to keep her locked up in the house or something like that. If I'm an oppressor in any aspect of my life, then the lana comes back to me first and foremost.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is that every dua has an action. So therefore, what is the action that follows on through this lana? So first of all, I need to make sure that I don't have those actions. Secondly, I need to make sure that if there is any oppression happening around me, I need to be able to stand up against it.
Okay.
I need to do something, even if it's just writing, I don't know, signing a petition, or going for marches, or boycotting, or whatever it is. I need to stand up against oppression. Thirdly, recognizing that I'm doing this for myself. It's not that the person needs it or doesn't need it, sort of thing. God's going to do what is right. It's the same sort of concept of salawat being a dua. When I send salawat to the Holy Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt, it is a dua. I'm asking Allah to increase His mercy and blessings on the Holy Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt. Now, God is going to give them what is their right. God is going to give them His blessings and His barakah. But by me doing that dua, I'm connecting to their spirituality. I'm giving them something so that I can become part and parcel with them. I can sort of join in with them and show that I am their lover, and sort of pay back again the love of the Ahlul Bayt that the Prophet had asked for compensation for giving us Islam, and give that back from that perspective. So this lana is also from the love of the Ahlul Bayt, so the love of his qurba, the love that the Prophet had asked for. Because by dissociating myself from those who oppressed the Ahlul Bayt, I'm showing my connection to the Ahlul Bayt and connection to the Holy Prophet, and then therefore to Allah.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so it's really important to recognize that. And also, those who say that the lana is not part of it, it can't be part of it, we have a hadith from the 11th Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam, where he says that after the first lana, because the salam and the lana are supposed to be done 100 times. Yeah? So he says after the first lana, then you'll say that this should be said 99 times. Allahumma al-anhum jamia. So the final line, where you're giving lana to all of the ones that are oppressed. Yeah, all those who are oppressors. He says either you can say that 99 times, or say that line and say times 99.
Okay.
And with the salam, again, you do the whole salam, and then you say 99 times, Assalamu ala al-Hussein. So the salam of Imam Hussein should either be said 99 times, or said that one line, saying it times 99.
Okay.
Okay. So the fact that we have this hadith from Imam Hassan al-Askari explaining how to do this thing 100 times when you don't have time to do the whole thing 100 times, shows that it must be part of the authentic aspect of Ziyarat Ashura.
Of course.
Yeah, so it's important to recognize. Now, the next question that usually arises is, so who is the first, second, third, and fourth, which are not named, and then the fifth is Yazid. So this is the at the end of the lana, because you talk about the lana being the oppressors, and then after you've done the lana and the salam, then you do and lana on the first, the second, the third, and the fourth, and then Yazid the fifth.
Yeah.
Okay, so people say, who are those for? And the Ahlul Sunnah say, obviously you're talking about our Khalifs, and how dare you do lana on the Khalifs? Not necessarily. That's your assumption. And if that is your assumption, and honestly, if as a Shia I'm doing lana on the Khalifs, what I'm saying is what the Ziyarah is actually saying, the first of the oppressors, the second of the oppressors, the third of the oppressors. So if you truly believe that the Khalif is not an oppressor,
yeah, I was going to say
then that lana has no value whatsoever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay? But actually, Sheikh Tusi, when he wrote it in his Misbah al-Mutahajjid, he was actually asked by the Khalif of the time, who were you doing this lana to? Because he was told the same thing, this is the Khalif. And he said the first is Qabil, because he killed Habil. The second is the killer of the she-camel.
Okay.
The third is the killer of Yahya. And the fourth is the killer of Imam Ali alayhi salam.
Okay.
So he's given a different explanation of the first, to the first, second, third, and fourth.
Okay.
Some of the scholars say that because the Ahlul Qissa are given a much higher status than anyone else, then the first four is to do with the killers of the first four, and the fifth being Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Yazid being his killer. And everyone knew at that time who had killed Imam Hussein, because this Ziyarat Ashura was given at the time of around the event of Karbala. So you could name Yazid because he was the one who would. Everyone knew he had been the one who had instigated the murder of the killing of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But with the first four, people may have not known, and to mention different names may have caused confusion or for whatever reason. So the first is the one who killed the Holy Prophet, the second is the one who killed Bibi Fatima alayhi salam, the third is the one who killed Imam Ali alayhi salam, and the fourth is the one that killed Imam Hassan alayhi salam. And then the fifth one being Yazid, who killed Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and that's why he's mentioned by name. So there are lots of different opinions, but whatever your opinion is, it really doesn't matter, because it goes back to who truly is an oppressor who will get the lana. So I can do dua against someone, but if you don't have those qualities, then that dua has no value whatsoever. And honestly, by me doing dua, and it's wrong dua, is God actually going to accept it? Of course He's not. Yeah. So it's taking all these into account, rather than as Shias actually saying, yeah, it is the Caliphs, and shoving it down the Sunnis' throats, or the Sunnis getting so annoyed about it and assuming it's the Caliphs. Let's sort of take a step back and say, look, first of all, lana is a dua, it's not a curse, it's not an insult, it's nothing that is against the akhlaq of Islam. Secondly, it was the sunnah of Allah and the Holy Prophet, so it's nothing which is considered as bid'ah, which is innovation within Islam. Thirdly, it is towards oppressors. How can you, whether you're a Sunni or Shia, have a problem with asking Allah to remove His mercy from oppressors?
Yeah, regardless if there's a name or not, it's saying from the oppressors.
Exactly.
So if they're saying that, does that mean they don't want the mercy?
You want the oppressors to continue?
Yeah, so you need to have this kind of mindset.
I think you need to look at it logically rather than emotionally. I think the problem is Ziyarat Ashura is looked at very emotionally from both Shia and Sunni perspectives, and I think it needs to be looked at logically. And as with any ziyarah, as with any dua, it has to make you a better person, a better Muslim, a better Shia. And if it's not, then there's a problem in the way that you're reciting it and your understanding of it. Also,
the fact that it's another fellow Shia Muslim kind of saying that they don't believe it's, they believe it to be fabricated, is also a whole new issue, because if that's what they believe and then they're telling other people, it kind of spreads and circulates. Again, going back to maybe another fellow Muslim from another sect who will look back at Shia Islam and say, look, even between themselves, they don't even agree. So how can we believe it to be authentic? So then again, it all goes back to making Shia Islam look bad.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think when it comes to hadith, the thing is, whenever you look at hadith, we as Shias have never ever said that we have a book which is 100% accurate, because there is no book except the Holy Quran which is 100% accurate.
Of course, yeah.
So, if you disagree with the hadith, if you feel that this hadith doesn't work for you, if you feel that this you don't understand this hadith, then you have every right to sit there and say, you know what, I'm not doing this, because again, it's not wajib or haram. Okay? You decline, you abstain from it, that's fine, but don't sit there and push your agenda onto others. Let them find out for themselves and let them decide for themselves. Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi Munkar comes in with wajib and haram. If it is something wajib and haram, then it is your duty to tell other Muslims. But when it's not wajib and haram, you decide for yourself and don't push your agenda onto others. No one's telling you have to recite Ziyarat Ashura. If you don't want to, that's fine. But not if it is. I truly believe it is very, very authentic. And I truly believe there is so much benefit from it. And if you sit there and stop someone else from reciting it because you've decided it's not authentic, and then you've convinced this person because they think highly of you, or because they get on with you, they've listened to you, you've actually taken away any benefit that they could have got from this beautiful ziyarah. And that's on you. Why would you do that to someone else? If you don't get anything from it, fine, don't recite it. No one's forcing you to recite it.
Especially during this, the holy month of Muharram, which has many benefits to ziyarah. Is it? They say you should try to recite it. Is it every day?
Every single day, yeah.
Every day?
Especially in the first 10 days. And I think the reason why it's emphasised to recite it is, again, if we're reciting it just as a tick box exercise or ritualistically, where we don't understand what we're reciting, we're not going to get very much out of it. So it's important to actually not only just look at the meaning, but actually reflect on the meaning. So here you're actually looking at what it is that you're trying to connect to. It's like, it's not just doing salam on Imam Hussein, but it's actually the whole concept of what he stood for, and this concept of, you know, the people who stood against him, and how you're sort of dissociating from them, and how you're coming towards him and his family and his companions, and you know, the concept of the Imam who's going to come and avenge his death, and all of these things are in Ziyarah Ashura, and it's connecting to all of these things and understanding them, so that you're actually emotionally connecting and then intellectually connecting to the ziyarah, so that there's some sort of change from within yourself. There has to be, through the recitation of this ziyarah, there has to be some sort of change. And I just feel like, as Shias, we've got so used to reciting these things without presence of heart and presence of mind, that it literally just becomes a ritualistic recitation with no contemplation, no change, no nothing. And that's really sad.
No, it is definitely, especially like because of the holy month of Muharram and the whole tragedy. It kind of goes hand in hand of kind of getting to the 10th day and fully building up all of that emotion, the understanding for the 10th day. But not only is it benefit during Muharram, but is it also benefit on other occasions? Like what other like occasions or times would Ziyarah Ashura be good to recite?
Ziyarah Ashura is very, very powerful to recite any time.
Okay.
Any time at all to connect, because again, by connecting to Imam Hussein al-Islam, you're connecting to the Holy Prophet. By connecting to the Holy Prophet, you're connecting to Allah.
Yeah.
So it's recognizing, and what it does, it sort of prioritizes your life, and it makes you realize what you should be standing for and what you should be standing against. It sort of really puts everything back into perspective.
Okay.
So it's really important to connect to it, and that's why I'm saying, I'm not saying don't recite it. There is benefit in reciting it, but the benefit comes out of understanding it and sort of bringing in that change within yourself. You know, I'm not saying, I think a lot of people, when you say, oh, you should understand it, and then people say, okay, then I won't recite it. No, please continue reciting it. Don't stop reciting it, but just take it one step further and actually understand what you're reciting. So maybe if you're reciting it every single day and you don't have any time, maybe recite it in Arabic one day and in English one day. Maybe reflect on it one day. So, you know, so you're not disconnecting from it, but you're trying to connect to it through different methods and actually getting more out of it. So rather than stopping the recitation because you don't have time to understand it, let's use that time that we would have spent in reciting it, maybe reciting it in English or in whichever language that you connect to, or maybe not even reciting the whole of it, but just maybe looking at parts of it and actually reflecting on each, on parts of it. So instead of reciting the whole ziyarah every single day, you sort of break it up into 10 different parts.
That's a good idea, yeah.
And looking at each part, so if it had taken you, say, 10 minutes to recite it, you'd spend 10 minutes on just that part and trying to think, okay, what is that part telling me in my life? How can I change in order to live that part?
Yeah, indeed, and that's also something you can take on with your children at home, breaking it up, and not only are they learning, but you're learning with them at the same time. And with the language, you can have it played in Arabic and have the subtitles, so you can get the best of both, really, or you can just listen to it in English. It's, whatever is easier. I
just feel like when you have it playing in the background, then it just becomes something that you have playing in the background, and you think, oh, okay, tick, done that, done Ziyarah Ashura today, let's move on, what's the next thing I need to do?
Very, very true, yeah,
so
exactly.
So again, just doing it with presence of heart and mind is really, really important.
Inshallah. Thank you so much again for answering that, and I do hope the viewer has kind of taken that on board, inshallah, and anyone else who is concerned, inshallah, that's also helped you. And again, do sending any of your questions. It's better to ask the questions instead of just being confused, but inshallah Ma'asuma will try her best to answer them to the best ability she can. And again, thank you so much. Inshallah, hopefully another episode to kind of enlighten the viewers. And inshallah, we'll see you soon for another episode of Dear Ma'sooma. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.